Hi, I'm Paul.
And I'm Tiffany.
To some, we could be called career wizards.
And to others, sometimes we seem like therapists. However, we definitely are not.
But for you, we are the co-hosts of the Career Boosters podcast.
That's actually one of the biggest tips I have, that it's like an aha moment for many students, like, wow, this is a digital handshake essentially, right? And we all here have those paper. I got a box of paper business cards, but
Yep, me
I
too.
find myself using the digital one more often.
All right. Hello and welcome to the Career Boosters Podcast, Season 3, Episode 16. Crazy. We are moving our way through 2026 like a storm right now. There is one major professional social networking tool out there, and it has been a staple for almost 20 years. I know myself as a recruiter, 20 years ago was really getting into something called LinkedIn. When someone may go to an event or when someone might be trying to find another person who works for a specific organization or in a specific role, the place they typically go first and foremost would be LinkedIn. This week in class, students, through not only we kind of gave them the basics of optimizing your LinkedIn profile, but how do you use generative AI and how do you use tools, large language models, to help us with best practices, help us know and understand how to talk about our own skills and abilities, and how to stand out like the great business professionals that we know MBA students are currently and are going to be in the future. Today, we are very lucky to have one of our colleagues join us on the podcast talking about LinkedIn. James Kwan is a work integrated learning officer for CWIL. So, Careers and Work Integrated Learning. That's the team that Tiffany and I are a part of. And James comes from actually the main career center at the University of Alberta. So think about 30 plus thousand students needing career related help. James was one of the people that they went to. And James has worked with graduate students for a number of years and is even talking and doing a presentation on LinkedIn today with students. So just being a part of the brand development process and things like that, James, we cannot thank you to help us today and talk a little bit about LinkedIn. The first question we have is if you can tell us about your role within the School of Business and the Careers and Work Integrated Learning team.
All right. Well, first of all, thanks, Paul and Tiffany, for having me on the show here today. And it's my pleasure to be here to share some thoughts on LinkedIn. And absolutely, I am a work integrated learning officer, essentially a co-op advisor or coach for our co-op students here. I help students and support them through job search or just anything about challenges of looking for co-op work terms, and also helping navigate the employer relations and even developing new relationships so we can create more co-op opportunities.
The next question I have, James, I want to just follow up. So you worked for the main career center. Tell us a little bit about what you did at the career center and how long you did it for, what kind of students you worked with, things like that.
Yeah, I was there about almost 2 years, and my role was a graduate student career advisor. So my main audience or students were master students, um, PhDs, and even postdocs. So helping those students transition from academia to the workforce is what I try to help them do. And actually, some of my favorite conversations were helping potential future professors look for roles, and those have been quite rewarding, actually.
Very cool. So, what a neat Venn diagram overlap for the three of us in
Yeah.
supporting kind of graduate students in a transition. I think it doesn't matter what level student you are. Transition is certainly a big thing within the student experience, but Paul and I support graduate students on that transition piece, and transitions are just some really interesting segments of life. So, I know all three of us enjoy supporting students in
Hmm.
that. One of the ways we support it is through helping them figure out LinkedIn. Like it
Hmm.
is something that so many people use, but how do we use it? How do we use it well? Do I actually have to use it? Is a question. Is there any sort of ROI in it? And so all things LinkedIn. I had no idea you were doing a LinkedIn presentation today, so it is
Mm.
LinkedIn day for you.
Yeah,
So let's
absolutely.
just start off with what the heck is your experience with it so far?
Yeah, LinkedIn is interesting. I had to look up history on this. I got LinkedIn back in February of 2009. So I wouldn't say I was a early adopter, but I had it for quite some time. But over my professional career, I felt like it was an afterthought, didn't really use it. And I find right now many master students also treat it the same way. They have it because everyone else has it. But over the last couple of years, conducting LinkedIn advising review appointments with graduate students and also giving LinkedIn talks, I realized the power and strength of LinkedIn, especially the networking piece. Connecting with individuals through LinkedIn, I find it quite powerful. So currently, my experience with LinkedIn is just helping students not only review and optimize their profiles, but really think about strategies and how to, depending on their goal, strategies and how to use their LinkedIn effectively.
I want to point out a thing that you just said because I just experienced it last night, this networking with LinkedIn. So
Mm.
I went to a networking event. I don't go to a lot of them, and it's been a little bit. And so I pulled out my LinkedIn QR code multiple times last night because I'd much rather that than give somebody my business
Yes.
card. I guess it's just,
Yeah,
I,
and absolutely. That's actually one of the biggest tips I have that it's like an aha moment for many students like, wow, this is a digital handshake essentially, right?
yeah.
And I mean, we all here have those paper. I got a box
Mm.
of paper business cards, but
Yep, me
I
too.
find myself using the digital one more often.
Yep, me too. Paul can insert his thought here on other digital business card opportunities, but LinkedIn is one of them. Digital handshake. Like I'm not entirely sure I have connected those words to LinkedIn, and I think that's fabulous.
Mm,
And that's absolutely how I used it last night. So maybe we'll just flow this into other social media platforms. And
sure.
so just some things are the same that you find, some things that are very different between LinkedIn, because you pointed out students have it because everybody else has it.
Hmm.
Students are passive, not really using it. So, how does it compare to other social media platforms, do you think?
Yeah, like many of us here, we all have maybe probably Instagram, X, so many other different types, but I feel like each social media platform has its own purpose, right? Sometimes I kind of relate it to, I guess, using like an analogy of rooms. My Instagram's like my living room. People can see it. I have things out there. I might not have all my personal things. That might be, relegated to WhatsApp and DMs there. But the LinkedIn's kind of like the boardroom, a place where you can be a professional, right? And you can kind of put on a new persona, a professional persona. And sometimes I actually give myself an excuse. I don't like posting, but I'm going to post this because it's part of my job. It's part of my professional persona. So that motivates me to put out content or put out posts that might be relevant to the area that I'm working in.
James, I love the analogies of kind of the boardroom or the really important meeting space in your house. I think that's so important, right? And I think we as business professionals need to have those spaces not only with the people
Mm.
we work with in person, we see each other in our offices and things like that, but we need a virtual space to kind of hang out as well, right? And share
Yeah.
information. I really love that. I also love the digital handshake. I thought that was really unique and
Mm.
interesting. And I personally believe in things like NFC business cards. So those are like business cards that are more plastic that have chips in them that you can kind
Mm.
of tap. Connecting with people on LinkedIn using QR codes. I even 3D print QR codes with my kind of digital business card as well. So it's like having these really cool and innovative ways to kind of. I always
Hmm.
like to make that digital handshake just very informative and very enlightening at the same time. So I think there's
Mm.
certainly new and innovative ways to really like kind of blow people's minds and make you a little bit less uh you know forgettable, I guess. So
And you're
we want to
right.
be
Like part of that
important.
little boost there is that first impression, and
Yeah,
doing those things
it's
that you just
huge.
mentioned
Yeah.
are really great first impressions.
Yeah, I think it's a what a great way to kind of talk about first impressions and the what you're trying to leave people with, right?
Hmm.
Our if we think about LinkedIn, our picture or our banner
Hmm.
is kind of the initial impression, then the headline, then the about me section. But when it comes to posts though, when you think
Hmm.
about your own LinkedIn feed and what's being filtered through what you're talking about, what kind of post makes you stop and actually
Mm.
read it rather than scrolling past it? Like what kind of captures your attention?
No, that's a great question. Just like any social media, doom scrolling can happen, and just going through, there's so much content that's put out there, right? And it's interesting how the algorithm has been operating recently. I'm not sure if you guys have noticed, but content from 2 weeks ago and 3 weeks ago are popping up now. It's more based on relevancy rather than timeline now. The posts that usually stand out to me, number one, are the ones that I've connected with before, especially people. The relationship to me matters the most, probably. And so when I do see a post from that particular person, I'm going to read it. But also when I'm looking at different posts, I'm really curious about posts about things that are being developed or being done right now that I can maybe glean from or maybe take some insight. Anything on the topic of how I built this or how you built this is really interesting to me, right? Even it could be your career story, it could be a company that you're developing or managing. So those are kind of interesting things. But I also notice that if you don't have a picture with your posts, I'm probably going to, or some type of media, I'm probably going to just skip right through that. Some people find it cringy with having all the maybe the emojis on there, but actually I don't mind. It adds a little bit of color and differences. But I usually stick onto those posts that for me will showcase something that you're developing.
Which I think is really cool, and understanding that we ingest what we're interested in.
Mm,
And so often when we talk about LinkedIn best practices, some of those best practices are from our own lens. So yes, there's some best practices that I don't care who's talking about it, it is good to do. And then you talk about things that capture your attention, James, probably are a bit different than capture my attention. And so understanding that at the end of the day, it's a whole bunch of humans absorbing the content. And so both, do you find it interesting? Did you post it because you found it interesting, or did you post it because you're supposed to, or it
mm,
looks good? Like we can smell that from a mile away. So how can you make it you? I know in class, I mentioned I did a post recently with a picture of a mostly eaten McDonald's uh, tray where I had clearly had a lovely unhealthy McDonald's lunch, and I used it actually as a celebration tool. I took myself for a celebratory McDonald's. And it's odd. Like I don't think people post a few fries and an eaten burger, but
mhm.
it got a lot of reactions, which I thought was interesting. So, yeah, paying attention to what you think is interesting and maybe what your audience does. I think that one's hard for people to comprehend,
Yeah.
truthfully. You said you've been here since 2019 on LinkedIn 2009, not even
2009,
2019.
yeah.
So it's been a while.
Mm.
What has changed since then and even in the last 5, 6 years?
Yeah. Honestly, I didn't pay too much attention in the early years, but I assume I can kind of remember that there weren't so many options of things to post. When you log into your LinkedIn and you go to your settings and you're trying to add to your post here, create your profile, there are so many categories that you can add. Basically, we can find out everything about you professionally in terms of training, certificates, experiences, and all that. So in the past, I feel like it was very much like a, a static digital resume or CV, essentially, and that's what people were probably using it as. But what I've seen is that now people are not just using it as that, but people can actually really discover not just who you are, but what you've been doing, and they can tell who you are just by looking at your LinkedIn posts, right, or anything that you comment on. And that's kind of interesting about LinkedIn and scary. Everything is visible by everybody as long as your settings are on default. I mean, you can go in and change your settings, but everyone can see everything, even if you're not fully connected, right? So now it's not just about your resume or CV. It's more about branding and who you are in that sense.
It's the branding piece is such a big part of leaving that cookie crumb of information that people can kind of learn a little bit more about, right? I think that's so cool. We also see companies using LinkedIn quite a bit. We also see them trying to promote new talent or to find new talent. What have you noticed when it comes to companies and how they're using LinkedIn? So you've been in the career development and career space for 2 to kind of 5 years here at the university, and I'm sure seen many companies post and do those kinds of things. What are you noticing with companies?
Yeah, for companies, it's such a big tool for early pipeline of talent now. It's they can go out and headhunt people and they can really tell who's who at this moment and without having to even engage you at all or even having a conversation, which is can be again kind of scary.
Yeah.
So having that professional persona and what you put out there can be important. And that also goes to show that what you put out there is important rather than just having a document or a digital document that you don't engage with, right? So even when you comment small comments on when we comment each other's, and I do remember that McDonald's post that you did post, I liked it, but you're not going to care about my like, right? But if I commented something with adding some value on there, then now we have some engagement. I can see as a company how this person is communicating with another person, and you can actually see what this person's thoughts are in a way, and it's kind of scary. But at the same time, it gives a lot of information for recruiters and companies to make a decision off of in terms of, okay, is this person interesting? Am I going to shortlist them? And who are they connected with, right? So, I mean, I've seen companies use this a lot now these days, and I think it's quite interesting the type of data that they're collecting based off of your interactions on LinkedIn.
And I would offer that it goes the other way around. As candidates, we also have the opportunity, like, talk about static websites, generally speaking, static. You can do some research on a company, but if a company has a great presence on LinkedIn, like, what another tool for me as a candidate to now
Mm,
be engaged in your brand and to see what you're posting. What do you matter about? And so the kind of the flip side of that too. So you're right. It is a little bit scary that you can see a lot of what I'm doing, but I can see what you're doing too.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's our opportunity to vet employers as well.
Yeah.
We actually, the Career Center did a survey on employers, and they had an interesting stat or question. Then when they asked employers, do you notice when potential candidates follow your company on LinkedIn?
Oh.
And an overwhelming percentage said, yes, we do notice who follows us. Even if you applied for the job on LinkedIn, they do notice, oh, this person's looking at my content or following my
Uh-huh.
page. And so it can be helpful, actually.
Totally. But there's often a question of why are you interested in working for us? And
Mm,
lots of the times the answer is very fluffy or, sort of scripted. And yeah, did you actually take the effort? We can tell now
yeah,
as companies, we can
yeah,
tell.
yeah.
Hmm. I want to pull through this thread of McDonald's because that happens to be the example that I have. But I often see a very wide variety of different takes on professionalism and then maybe authenticity. And some of those things may be the same, some of those things may be quite pulled apart. And personally speaking, if you have just some sort of personality. If you are going to post something a little bit less professional, perhaps like polished professional be the word I would put it,
Mm,
you're going to grab my attention. Like if you are the same, I'm really excited to tell you that I have, like I will scroll right past that. So what
mm.
do you see? What is your take on this blend of professionalism but also authenticity?
Yeah, there is I do believe there's a line for me, for myself especially. Even going back to the original question that you had, like which post do I have to scroll through? Again, there's are posts that are interesting because you're being authentic, which means might be being a bit vulnerable, showing some emotion, showing some fire within your post. But if you are on there and you start delving into, talking, unpacking those emotions and maybe going to a point where it may be, oh, maybe this should have been posted somewhere else, or this should have been a personal conversation with someone else. I think that could actually disrupt what you're actually trying to do and do some harm. Again, it is a line that many people there is a line, but I think it depends on the person as well. Because if you're known to be authentic, if you're known to be, wear your emotions on your sleeves, I think that that's probably a bit more okay. But then if you're not consistent with the way that you're communicating throughout all your other, in real life or other social media, I think there can be a problem there. But I like to tell my students to err on the side of like, being professional and cautious, and
Mhm.
go lean more towards that professional line rather than the. And I mean, professional doesn't mean to be perfect or super
Mhm.
polished, or like you're saying.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure it's real because now people are also questioning, was that AI generated, or is
Yeah.
that really from you?
Yeah.
Is that your own thought, right? So I
Yeah.
do think there's a line, but it's difficult to tell, to give you kind of boundaries and rules on it. But once
Yeah.
you read something, you could probably tell, like, oh, maybe this shouldn't have been posted.
it's it's such a fine line when it comes to just the branding that you're trying to convey, and we get this question from students all the time. What about how do I mix my personal and professional
Mm,
brands? And I'm like, Tiffany and I believe it's the same. Like you have one best version of yourself. Try to show and demonstrate what that looks like, and that's all you really have control over. Would
Right.
I be commenting on posts from some political leaders that may be very controversial? Maybe not.
mm,
I will stay away from those kinds of things. But
mm,
how can I demonstrate and how can I put forward my best self? And you made a really cool point too. It's like it's not about being perfect. I've made mistakes on this podcast and how I've talked and things like that, and that is life. We
mhm,
are humans and we are supposed to make mistakes, and that is quite all right as well, right?
mhm.
So I got up from my chair about halfway through the present or the podcast today because I wanted to ask about this little banner, James. So we have open to work. This is a very interesting thing that Tiffany and I bring to the conversation with MBA
Yeah,
students. We Tiffany had this funny Instagram video she found and she sent it to me, and I actually 3D printed this little sign and we had it at our class. So
that's
this
funny.
banner is a big thing. This is something that can be very uh, uh, tune into a very interesting conversation, is what I will say. What are your thoughts on that open to work kind of banner? And I will maybe let Tiffany give about 15 seconds of a thought that she may have about it because she has some very strong feelings on it. So, but what do you think, James?
Okay, well, hopefully I don't step on any toes here. Well, we get this question a lot from other master students, not just MBA students, right? Open to work. I'll tell you my personal opinion on it. I'm not a fan. I wouldn't use it, but it doesn't mean it can't work. It has to align to your goals. If you are not employed and your early career, you just graduated, it probably wouldn't hurt if you put that on there, right? Now, if you were a late career professional with many, many years underneath your belt looking for a senior role, open to work might seem a little bit desperate in some sense. But people don't always know that you can be open to work without that green banner around your name. If you click on your profile settings and you go to that section, you can actually say open to work for recruiters only, and you're still accessible by recruiters without that green banner. And I think that's probably a bit more effective, in my opinion. But if you do use open to work, it can work. It does work. I've seen it work before. It's just that
Hmm.
my personal opinion is like I like to kind of keep my profile image kind of clean, just leave it,
Hmm.
tidy. But that's just me.
Mhm.
Tiffany,
Yeah, and
what's your thought on it?
yeah,
Or
so for me, before I let Tiffany talk
Mhm.
around it, because I know of the thoughts she has, I've heard them many times, and I lean to the side of James. Like I personally, now we are both mid-career professionals that would
Mhm.
probably have a bit of a different outlook on it, right? I love that your exact answer is what we gave in class.
Mm,
That was
mm,
exactly what we said. If you want to be open to work to recruiters, there's ways to do that without everybody seeing it. And I've actually seen, I've seen colleagues around the university have open to work and they're in positions, and you're like, oh gosh, like you may want to know what the impact of that is to
mm,
maybe your boss or things like that, right? But I'll let Tiffany kind of lean into this very briefly to talk about what her thoughts are, because I think there's some really valid points in either direction.
mm,
Mhm. So first off, let me say I'm with you. You can use it wrong. There are many cases where it's going to work against you. So I am not trying to change minds on it should be used all the time. It
mm,
absolutely can be misused and misunderstood. I will also offer that there is very much a bias out there around and you used the word, the desperate, the feeling of desperate when people see it. Where I really struggle, and this one's a value struggle for me, is in fact that assumption of desperation. So if somebody's using it right, and if we take it off the table, they're using it correctly, they haven't done some of the other mistakes that you can do with it. What I'm really challenged by is the fact that we are socialized to think that somebody without a job is desperate.
mm,
Like, I don't quite understand on this social platform that is actually in part built to help people network and find jobs, that if somebody is open to being vulnerable about the fact that they don't have one,
Mm-hmm.
I really struggle with the bias of an assumption that that means they're desperate. And I don't mean this at James. This is a common assumption that we hear across the board. And it's
Mm-hmm.
that I would love to try to change. Use it,
Mm-hmm.
don't use it. Make your own personal choice. I would love us to question the socialization that being without a job means that you're desperate if you're saying that you're looking for one.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think that is actually counter to the work that we all do. It is
Mm-hmm.
absolutely counter to
Mm-hmm.
we help people find jobs every day. However, there's a new piece to this that you just brought to light that I would like to highlight. And Paul, you said this, and I don't think I've surfaced this yet. I think there's also a piece of privilege in here. You just talked about both being, all of us are mid-career. And if you added on other layers of privilege on top of that, like I think there's places where is there privilege that is also saying that's desperate? And what type of marginalized kind of people, in fact, do benefit from that or feel like they have no other option, right?
Yep.
Without privilege, what other option do they have? So
Mm-hmm.
it's a socialization kind of cultural lens that I challenge.
Yeah, no, that's a great point. And that's it's unfortunate that,
Yeah,
with this
it
type
really
of
is.
platform where it's meant to help, it has kind of
Yeah.
maybe even pushed this
I
idea
know,
of
right?
where our values don't align anymore. But yeah.
Mhm. Anyway, that's my soapbox. Thanks for giving me a
Yeah.
moment to
Mm-hmm.
step on it.
Tiffany, I think you raised so many cool, valid points, right? Like, and I said this in class to the students. I personally have not been in a place that I have had to um, think that I need to put this banner on my LinkedIn profile. I feel very lucky that I have not had to have
Mm-hmm.
that moment, right? And I appreciate Tiffany being very candid around like, we need to look at what this looks like. I made a very like audacious statement last week on our podcast saying that I don't think resumes and cover letters actually should be around anymore. I just think they're so easy to replicate, so easy to build
Mm-hmm.
now with AI. Like, I mean, I made the comment I could build an AI agent and it could apply for every job that's perfect for me without me even doing anything. So, I like open to work. Does it really matter that it's there? No, like I don't think it does because I think at the end of the day, if somebody's really open to work, that's great that you're letting me know. Thank you very
Mm-hmm.
much. Right? It's just I feel very lucky that I haven't had a chance to do this, and we could talk about this for a long time, but we are in a podcast, so I'm going to ask the very last question to James, and then I'll turn it over to the lightning round with Tiffany. Looking ahead, James, what do you predict to kind of be the major next evolution of LinkedIn? What's it going to be? What's it going to look like? How do you think this is going to shape professionals and how they reach out to other people?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a tough one too for me because I feel like you can't have this conversation without having a conversation about artificial intelligence and AI and anything to do with that. I do think that moving forward, data is still king here. Collecting data about anybody is going to be a key to making decisions. And it's just how data is going to be presented, I think. I think right now we see it as digital and we just see it as, static when we're scrolling through. There might be even more pieces that they're adding on here in terms of headings or topics to include. We might even start seeing more things that are I say human touch, for example, videos like this, where actually seeing a video of you or even hearing audio of you talk, it might be even more important moving forward. But I still do think that LinkedIn is going to be relevant for at least a complete this year and maybe in the near future as well, just because I see it as a great way to establish that human connection, connecting tool in a professional environment. And yes, you could exchange someone's phone number and maybe DM them or send them a text, but I think this is such an accessible way with a mask behind it in a way, as a professional tool to be able to reach out in that way. I think it's still excellent for that.
I appreciate that. I'm going to add one quick question as we head into the lightning round because it's
Mm,
a lightning round question. I'd love
mm.
to know, is there somebody we should follow on LinkedIn? Is there
Oh,
anybody that you'd recommend? Anybody you follow that you like?
well, I recommend everyone follow the NBA Career Boosters podcast. There we go.
Yes! Thank you! We didn't even plan that!
You mean I have a really interesting story about this podcast and the current job that I'm in, but I want people to come up to me and we can chat about it in person.
Oh, there you
But
go.
this was one of
Networking in with
yes,
James.
this is
All
one of those
right.
career boosts. Stumbling upon this podcast was one of those career boosts. So
No
yeah.
way.
So I suggest people follow this. And in terms of other people, I don't have anyone specific in the career development field. I can tell you a few people that I follow, but in terms for general MBA, I'm not sure. I don't really
Mm.
follow too many specific MBA individuals.
I can give you one that I just started following. I don't know if either of you know Ethan Mollick.
Hmm.
So big voice in the AI world who's new to me, but not new at all. I've just started his book, Co-Intelligence, which is a really great read on AI and the co-intelligence of AI. So he's on LinkedIn. Maybe give him a follow.
All right.
All right, let's do the lightning round. I think you already answered the first question, but I'm going to see if there's another answer too. So 3
Okay.
quick questions, 3 gut answers.
Hmm.
What about your career story has given you the biggest boost?
I think taking chances in industries that I didn't think I might be in. I was a former high school teacher, and I didn't
Mhm.
never thought about post-secondary in any type of support role. And hearing stories from other people and taking a chance really did a number. Yep.
Cool. What do you wish you'd learned sooner?
Oh, this is one I think about a lot. I wish I would have had the confidence to just ask without any fear or expectation. I think right now there could be many people who want to help, but I was my own barrier. I didn't ask. I never reached out. I never asked a question, hey, could you give me advice? I just thought I had to figure out myself and do it myself.
Mm,
And, that's not how things work. And I
mhm.
realize now relying on my network and relationships, leveraging that has been such a wonderful experience. And I wish I had learned that way earlier.
Oh, wow. That's beautiful. And service, really important to Paul and I. So we're always curious how service is going to show up for you in the coming week.
Once you become a career advisor, you're kind of always a career advisor. Right after
Mhm.
this podcast, I'm going to be talking to someone that's not related to U of A, who wasn't a former student or anything like that. And just because they're curious about, getting their feet off the ground in their first career. And I said, you know what?
Mm.
I could give you a few tips. And so I find myself career advising people in line in queue at a bank or at a grocery store. And now it's just kind of an occupational habit or hazard.
Occupation. I was gonna say hazard. I think all 3 of us have the same
Hazard.
hazard.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hazard.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
So I
If you
love
want
I
to
love
see
giving
Paul,
back. Yep.
if you want to bug Paul, find him at an event and ask him a career question when he's not technically working.
Yeah, and I love giving back like that because you never know. When we talk
Yeah.
about career development, this idea of planned happenstance, right?
Yeah.
You don't set it up. You don't intentionally do something as a transaction, but when you go have these experiences, who knows how it might help you or it might
Yeah.
help them down the line. And I think that's the idea of paying it forward, giving it back,
Yeah.
however you want to say it. I think it's wonderful.
Yeah, very
Lovely.
cool.
Mhm.
James, you always come across in such a professional, kind manner that
Oh,
that statement is so on brand and on point for what I know about James, which is so cool.
oh,
So,
thanks. Appreciate that.
my random question for you.
All
I
right.
was going to ask you about what's your favorite podcast, but we've already distinguished what that is, so we don't have to worry about that one anymore. James, you and I love sports. We love coaching sports.
Yeah.
What is one thing that you take away from teaching young people about sports?
Oh, takeaway for myself or what I like giving out to, I guess.
Y-
Okay, I guess taking away
Yeah,
for
either.
myself. Sure. I guess my biggest takeaway is that um, learning and development happen at any stage. And when I see young people learn through sports or even through careers, I'm encouraged to learn and I'm encouraged to personally develop myself. It's not to impress others, but when you do that for yourself, you don't know how that spills out to everyone else. It could be infectious in a way. It could also be inspiring and motivating for others. And I'm not doing that for that reason, but when I coach young students or athletes, I'm always excited to see them so eager to develop themselves.
Aw, what a lovely answer. And for all of us who don't coach the sports but know that it's so important for students, like the work you and Paul and all anybody else who volunteers their time to coach kiddos,
Mm.
like kudos to you. Thank you for helping build the next generation. It's so important. James, you are a gem. And I don't say that about everybody, truly. It's not a word I use, but you are the most beautiful mix. And Paul gave 2 words. I'm going to add on a few more. He said professionalism and kindness or warmth. I would say the very values driven, right? And this kindness that comes along with it is infectious. It draws people to you, and it means what you say lands with people. And that is something you've been with our team for a little while, but not incredibly long, and it did not take long to see that in you and to feel that. So thank you for sharing in this space. Thanks for following along in this space far before we knew you, and it's a pleasure now to have you as part of the team.
Thank you so much. I appreciate this time, and thank you for those kind words. And yeah, you guys are doing excellent work here. I'm looking forward to more collaborations in the future.
Oh, absolutely. Awesome. Thanks so much, James.
All right. Thank you.
All right, we're going to put this on hyperspeed because that was a lovely episode, but a little bit longer. So, key takeaways. For me, it was one word, relevancy, and he talked about it, and understanding how the algorithms work. It brings and surfaces stuff that's relevant, not necessarily recent. So, rather than just posting every day to always be recent, how do you be relevant so that you keep popping up in someone's feed specific to LinkedIn? So, that was mine.
Nice. For me, he made a comment, and it was right towards the end of the podcast. He said, I was my own barrier. You need to just ask. I have been stopped by myself so many times, and I wish I would have just asked. And, as you get longer and older in your career, you start to realize like asking a question is a beautiful thing. And so curiosity and stop becoming your own barrier, I guess, is the way I look at that.
Love that. Next week is networking, the thing that I think we just always talk, being a good human and connecting with other humans. So we will talk about that more specifically next week. See you then. Thanks for tuning in to the Career Boosters podcast. We hope you had a blast. Yeah, we know that's corny. Catch you next time, and remember to subscribe wherever you enjoy podcasts.